All right. Welcome to the Crossroad Conversations on the Be Happier podcast with Coach Kea. And today I have a very dear friend of mine whom I have known for almost a quarter of a century, yes, 25 years, Karen Connell. She's an author. She has worked as an accountant for God knows how long, like decades, and almost half a century. Yeah, if you really want to know. But the reason she is here today in this conversation, and I had to have her here, is because she has been an advocate for victims of domestic violence for over 40 years. So, Karen, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here with me and our friends who are watching this show live and who will later on have the privilege of hearing your story, your victories, your trials, your tribulations, and just know what to do when faced with choices. So tell us a little bit about you, Karen.
What do you want to know? My life is literally an open book. I've written a book about my experiences and recognizing in the book the choices that I made,
Mm-hmm.
good and bad, so that people could understand that we choose what happens in our lives. We choose the way we are going to live, whether we're aware of it or not. And I advocate for intentional choice at this point. I want women to realize for so long, I mean, historically speaking, it's only been in the last 25, 30 years that women in this country have been allowed to get a credit card in their own name.
Mm-hmm.
Before, if they had one, it had to be in their husband's name. So women have been brought up believing that somebody else will make life choices for them. That is not the case. It doesn't have to be the case. It, choice is, as Carolyn Mace says, it is a specifically human characteristic and power.
Mm-hmm.
No other animal has choice. They live by instinct. We have choices. So we need to learn. I had to learn to make intentional choices, to think about what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do with my life, and then do it.
Yes. And this is a global truth that women did not have the power over their bodies, over their money, over their choices, over how much they could get an education or go work. Nothing. Women did not have that. But the world
Right.
has changed, and it has changed at many levels and in many ways because of women like you. So tell us a little bit about your story. And you don't have to go linear. You can say what's coming up most critically at this moment for you. What was the first time you realized that you had to make yourself a priority in this journey called life? Tell us a little bit about that.
Um, well, when I woke up in the hospital after having my vocal cords reattached that my ex-husband slashed,
Mm-hmm.
um, and the doctor said as an afterthought, He reattached my vocal cords. Can you imagine, as a woman, being told that there was that possibility that you would never be able to talk again? I'm a very talkative social person. Not
Mm-hmm.
social party wise, but I like to talk. I like to have conversations, meaningful conversations with people
Mm-hmm.
like you.
Mm-hmm.
We have many very wonderful conversations, and I treasure that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I decided when I woke up in the hospital that this experience could not define my life, that I needed to take the experience and turn it around and use it as a way to help other women not have to go through what I went through, to realize that they could make different choices sooner than I did.
Right. So tell us, that was a moment in your life when you just didn't pivot. You got spun around and then just left over there, and you had to decide what you were going to do. So I'm going to tell this over here now.
Okay.
You had your vocal cord slashed. You were a widow and you had a little baby.
No, he wasn't little, he was 6. He was also at a pivotal point in his life.
Yes.
He was not at the point where things were conscious,
Mm-hmm.
but he was very close to it. And this, he literally came in when my husband was attacking me, jumped on his back and started pounding on him with his little fists, saying, "Stop it, stop it, you're hurting my mom. Look at all the blood." Because the carotid arteries were also severed. So blood was pumping everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that got my husband's attention, and he got off of me,
Mm-hmm.
put his hand out, and pulled me up.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to get my son and a friend who was there spending the weekend to leave with me then, because I realized that at that point, and I did not look at myself in the mirror. I was afraid to. Um, I realized at that point that if I stayed, I would bleed to death very quickly.
Yes. And all of this you have written, I have heard the story, but when I read your story almost 25 years later or 20 years later, because I read it a few years ago, when I read it, I was like, whoa. When you hear the story, you feel like, oh, this is just a domestic violence. Who doesn't go through this? This has been going on forever, throughout times, throughout nations, throughout cultures. But when you read that book and you go through the steps, go through the details, it is a different experience altogether. So would you like us to tell us a little bit about your book and hold it up for us so we can see it? And of course, you can find it on Amazon. The book is there on Amazon, and I will have the link in the description so you can click on it and go get your own copy. But it is an amazing book, wonderfully written, very intelligent, very sensitive, very compassionate, and very objective. So let us have a look at your book and then tell us a bit more. So it is Beyond Survival. And what's the subtitle? Read it for us. Okay, I'll read it. Take back your life using the power of choice. And that is why you are on this conversation. Take back the power of your life through your conscious choice, through your intentional choice. And this is beyond surviving. Life is not just about, oh, I'm going, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. And what does fine mean? How do you describe fine? Oh, I'm good, not too bad, same old, same old, but this is
Yeah,
beyond all of that. So I will not get into your story because that is something people can go pick up the book and read it for themselves and find the truth about themselves in that book, because I never had my throat slashed in my life. I had never been held at gunpoint. I have never been that close to violence. Yet I connected with every victim on this planet of domestic violence. I never had domestic physical violence in my life, but I had verbal violence. I had emotional violence. There was emotional abuse. There was sarcasm. And when you are a sensitive soul, that is abuse too. That is
it is.
violence too. You know, when you are made to feel small, when you're made to feel little, when you're made to feel like nothing, that is all violence. And everything scars your soul and leaves an impression on your heart, on your intelligence, on your psyche, and it affects your reality. Like, I'm a businesswoman. Every time I go out and I have to talk to someone about this is what I do, and people, either one of the two, they'll be like, oh, good for you. Oh, you're so lucky. They do not know about the steps a person has to take to get to where they are right now. So don't
Yes.
see yourself there. See yourself where you used to be, where you were. So tell us about this 40 plus years that you have been working locally, nationally, and globally, and the impact you have created in making lawmakers make this a thing, that domestic violence is a thing. Tell us about your work in that area. And that's also in
Yes.
the book. So don't give away the whole story, but just give us a little bit so people can read the book and know more about it.
Well, while I was in the hospital, uh, the woman who ran the domestic violence shelter that my son and I went into almost 2 years prior to this happening was somehow heard about it. And she came to visit me and asked me what she could do to help. And I said, no, show me how I can help. Because my first conscious thought was, this cannot have happened for no reason. I have to be able to use this to help others.
Hmm.
I, through this, in spite of how horrendous this was, I gained a purpose from having gone through it. I've always
So,
liked helping other people, but this truly gave me a purpose.
so just to recap, so the day your husband attacked you was not the first day. You had already left him, and I know this is all in the book. You had already left him, gone back, and then he came back and played the victim. And you, with the generosity of your heart, you said, like, okay, let me do this for my child, let me do this for my marriage, let me do this for this man. And you believed him and you trusted him and you returned. And this is something that happens all along in relationships. I see people, they say, no, but he's sad, he really has remorse, oh, she really didn't mean that, and people return. And because the other person did not help himself, did not find help, professional help, did not do anything, any mental work, any physical work, any emotional work, any spiritual work, the beast was already there waiting. So kudos to you. And I'm so grateful to you that because of the change you have created in society, so many people have benefited from that. So many people have grown from that.
I
But
hope so.
yes, so tell us a little bit about the changes you created in society, the lawmakers you worked with. Tell us a little bit about that.
I had the honor to meet with Dianne Feinstein when she was still a California senator, with a group of women called the California Coalition Against Domestic Violence that I had been invited to join. And we lobbied Dianne Feinstein for the first domestic violence bill in California that was about training lawmakers how to respond, what they were really facing. And after that bill passed in 1994,
Mm.
1984, I'm sorry, several of us were invited by the California Attorney General's office to work with lawmakers to write the curriculum for the training. And then I trained LAPD. And then I created a victim advocate program in the LA City Attorney's office. So,
Wow. Wow. So yes, when you say, I hope I did, you know you did. But that's your humility, that's your modesty, that's what's so charming about you. And from the times when you and I come, we are not into bragging, we are into serving. So that
no,
to me is true servant leadership. You are a leader, but you are a leader through serving. Like Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. Krishna did that. So that is true leadership, where you have humility, you have modesty, and you have the courage to choose. Now let's talk a little bit about choices, intentional choices. You started off with that.
yes,
So our audience, our brother, sister, friend, whoever is listening in right now, I want them to know it doesn't have to be domestic violence. It doesn't have to be emotional violence. It could be anything. It could be at your workplace. It could be anywhere. How do you choose to honor yourself? That's all I will say. Go ahead, take it.
you thank you. Um, you have to, first, you have to make a conscious choice. There was an incident that is in the book that triggered me to say, enough. I'm
Hmm.
not going to do this anymore.
Enough is that word. Is that power word. Enough. Enough is enough. Yes.
Yes,
I am
yes,
enough. It has so many. Although, yes, go ahead. Continue.
it's okay. And um, I decided, I made plans to leave. I prepared for it,
Hmm.
and then I left.
Mm.
But I didn't have a purpose other than getting away from what was happening. But it also forced me to find housing on my own, a school for my child on my own, a job on my own.
Hmm.
And that forced me to start thinking about what I needed in my life to create a home for my son, and one where I was in charge of what was going on, instead of someone telling me that you have to do this and you have to do that. And just for the record, my ex husband, when we were separated, went to AA, got sober, was in counseling.
Mm.
He went through trying to make the changes, but I found out later that it was peripheral. That in fact, when he was in AA, he was actually hunting for another woman who had low
Mm.
self esteem. And that's the
Mm.
other part of change. You need to start building your self esteem and believe that you are worth something, that you have something to give to other people. Um, Everything that I've given was a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't because I wanted accolades or anything else. I've won awards for the things that I did, but that was not why I did it. I did it because I believed truly that if I did the right thing, that it could help other people. And that's how I live my life.
So that is a very powerful takeaway for today, because I know you and I will have many more conversations that we will share with our friends over here, our brothers and sisters. But for now, just to wrap it all up, what's coming up is this intentional choices. And this is something even Buddha said. Like in Buddhism, we talk about no lying, no stealing, no hurting, no promiscuity, no getting intoxicated. Those are the 5 foundations of Buddhism. And then there is more. But, and you may be like, oh, but I ate chicken and a chicken was killed. So am I a bad Buddhist? No, you're not a bad
No.
Buddhist when you eat a chicken. Okay. So it is the intention behind it. Like when you're walking, when you stepped on an ant, oh my God, I stepped on an ant, or I inhaled a fly or a mosquito or something like, or I slammed. Was it intentional? So intention is beyond your thoughts. It's truly alignment with your value system.
Yes.
So you chose to live, you chose to let go of what was hurting you, your marriage, your home, your family, your child, and you stood up for yourself. Those are extremely impactful, and most people can't do it alone. I know people like you and I, we are like the renegades, the mavericks who are like, okay, I'll do it. If it's got to be, it's up to me. Most people need a community, um, a group, something to lean on. And again, in Buddhism, we have the Sangha, you have your community to lean on. And that is what I have recently, come up with this, like people become friends when they have a common enemy or a common cause. So we will leave the enemy part aside, but think
Yes,
of the
please.
common cause. Let's focus on, because that's what, and the moment the enemy disappears, these people have no more relation because the enemy is gone. Now they have no reason to be friends anymore. But a common cause.
That
And
isn't
if
a
there's
good foundation.
that isn't a good foundation at all. You do it because it's the right thing to do. You
Yes.
do it, it is aligned with your value system. And reach out for help. So I want you, Karen, again to hold up your book so our viewers can see it again. It's beyond surviving. Because when you say living, what is living? Living is beyond surviving. What is
And it's
thriving?
breaking free.
Yes, breaking free. Yes, through take back your life using the power of choice. So you take back your life. Anytime you have to make a decision, and choice, it comes from your heart. Decisions come is mental. So in your heart, you choose. And so I will say this, choose you. Make yourself a priority. Think of going on a flight and the air hostess says that you have to put the oxygen mask first on yourself. So self-love isn't a selfish thing. And one of the words you mentioned was self-esteem. What are you worth? How do you value yourself? And
Exactly.
in Spanish, there's only one word, estima. Estima means esteem, and it also means worth. And without working in this foundation level, what are you worth? What is your self-esteem? Like, what is your value? Like, you will not grow in confidence. And when you are not growing in confidence, then you're making choices from desperation. And that is not a great place to make a choice from. You have to make choices from inspiration. So
You
is there
put that
anything?
so perfectly. You always
Thank
have
you.
the right words, Kath.
Thank you so much, Karen. And let's do this again real soon, I promise. So with all the love and light within me, I humbly bow to the love and light that is you. Om, peace, amen, aloha, and namaste. Bye for now.